I never expected that I would witness something like this in my own life, which I was used to hearing from different people or maybe on social media, but going through something like that in reality can shatter your world. I'm a simple man and work as a professor at a university. I have been married to my wife, Lilac, for 10 years. We have 2 sons. I met her at a party where my aunt suggested that my mother that I should ask Lilac out for a date. I was never interested in dating, so I never really dated as I was always preoccupied with my PhD and my education. But after seeing Lilac, I was mesmerized by her beauty, and just like her name, she looked soft as a flower. My parents were nagging at me for a long time to get married, so I asked Lilac out. Our parents had already interacted with each other at the party and they dearly wanted both of us to get married. The first date was amazing. She was fun to be around, and she was doing dental at that time. We ended up dating for a year and we got married. Now it's been 10 years. Our daily lives were pretty much normal. She was a great mother and wife. I never felt any problem in my life after her arrival, and she took great care of me, but that was only the start, and I never knew that curiosity would take me to an unexpected turn after 10 years. Knowing about her past would have helped me detangle the knots that I never really tried to know. Things were going smoothly, and never in 10 years of marriage had I doubted her until 1 month ago, and on a random day, things turned very rough for both of us. Maybe it was me who was creating assumptions in my head, or maybe she was hiding something because I never had any sort of negative view of her before. It was one evening when she came back from her clinic at a very unusual time. I tried calling her, but she didn't respond to my calls. At first, I thought maybe she had a lot of patients today, so I called the receptionist at her clinic. She told me that Lilac didn't come to the clinic that day, which made me curious and tense. I was very anxious, thinking about what might have happened. I couldn't sleep at all. It was past midnight when she came inside, looking really tired. I was going to ask her why she took a leave today. Before I could even say a word, she walked past me and said she had lots of patients today and she wanted to sleep. After hearing her lie to my face and meanwhile knowing the truth, I just sat there on the couch anxiously, thinking about what could be the reason behind her lie, and that was something new. I was irritated and annoyed by this, but then I decided to try to sleep because it was already late and I had work tomorrow. I went inside the room and saw her wearing her office clothes with her legs hanging from the bed. I took her in my arms and laid her properly. What could have been worse than realizing your wife, who never touched alcohol in 10 years of marriage, reeked badly of alcohol? I covered her with a blanket and looked at her face. She was sleeping peacefully and unbothered. I wanted to avoid any kind of conversation in the morning, so I left for work early in the morning. I couldn't sleep at all because I kept thinking about it. I had to prepare question papers for my student's upcoming exam, so I thought waking her up in the morning would be a bad idea as it would lead to stress and arguments for both of us. I came back from work and saw her car in the parking lot. While petting my cat on the front porch, I saw Lilac through the window. She was texting someone, smiling and blushing. As soon as I went inside, she immediately put her phone aside and started helping our elder son, James, with his homework. She always hugged me and kissed me, and this time her smile faded after looking at me. She greeted me with a rough hello, which sounded uninteresting. It was very awkward to face such an unusual thing in just one day. Later in the evening, I asked her to bring me a warm cup of coffee. She had the cup of coffee in one hand and was texting someone with another, smiling. I looked over at her once and then looked away. But my second look saved our younger son Max from getting burned with the coffee on his head, all while her mother was busy texting someone, God knows who. I shouted at Lilac for the first time in our 10 years of marriage for her carelessness. She kept apologizing, so I told her that I wanted to talk to her about a few things. I let the boys play video games for a while so we could have a proper conversation. Instead of asking where she was last night, knowing this might give her a hint, I asked her where her attention was and to whom she was talking on the phone. She looked at me apologetically, and as she was going to say something, her phone started buzzing. It happened 3 times, which made me very annoyed, and she apologized. She told me that she met an old friend the day before yesterday, and last night they both decided to catch up, so that's the reason behind her being late. She still didn't tell me that she was not in her clinic or about the alcohol thing. Agree over this or not, but hiding information does count as minor cheating. What is bothering me is that it is almost midnight now and I still see she's up online and chit-chatting on her phone. Update 1. It's been a month since the last update, as I have already mentioned before. I was preparing questions for my student's exam, so I was so busy with my schedule that I failed to make an update. On the same night, seeing her having a conversation with someone at 4 a.m. in the morning wasn't unusual, but the conversation that I overheard made me realize otherwise. I would like to quote it for you all to read. Nah, it wasn't a dream marriage of mine. He's boring and outdated, and I'm tired of the vanilla sex every time. God, I need spice in my life. Oh, you want to? Probably the reply to her wanting spice in her marriage. Was I really an outdated, boring person? Did I really fail as a husband? I thought she was happy with me. Did the arrival of a new friend change everything? Who is even the new friend of hers? She always slept in my arms, sometimes bought me flowers, and treated me so well. I can't believe hearing all of that. I went back to my side of the bed. I heard her footsteps, and the door opened. She came back, got inside the blanket, hugged my back like nothing happened, and fell into a deep slumber. As for me, my instinct was clearer than water, and at the back of my head, I knew she was drifting away from me. Honestly, after that night, I got suspicious of her and started following her. Everything went downhill, and it was worse than what I expected. If a person is capable of minor cheating, then eventually they have something big under their sleeves. I couldn't sleep at all, and my head was pounding pretty badly. After having breakfast, I told her that I could drop her off at the clinic. She didn't respond at first, and then she told me that she was going to meet James's teacher at the parents' meeting. It was amusing. Doesn't she know that the meeting was yesterday, and I already attended that, but I kept track of the lies she was feeding me. I didn't say a word and left for work. On my way to the office, I got a call from her clinic. The receptionist asked me why Lilac hadn't come to the clinic for 3 to 4 days. She was not even responding to the calls and texts properly. The patients had taken prior appointments, and when the doctor didn't turn up, they were very frustrated because they had their appointments on the respective days. One thing was leading me to another, and my doubts were getting clearer day by day. Instead of being a puppet, I decided to see it through my own eyes. I immediately completed my work and let my intern do the rest of it. I left my office and went to her clinic, knowing she wouldn't be there. I entered the clinic and called her. She didn't pick up my call but called me back after 2 minutes. I told her that I visited her, but she was not there. She couldn't say anything for a few seconds and then responded hesitantly that she was visiting an old patient who couldn't come to the office and had to describe the process of RCT. She was lying because when I asked the receptionist if there was any home visit appointment, she said no. I went back home, and both of my sons were silently studying. Our nanny takes care of James and Max. She was an old friend of my mother and was the most trusted person. I cooked dinner for them and finished assembling the papers so I could ask for a few days of leave and follow my wife. Things went as planned, and I decided to remain silent until and unless I gathered all the proof so I could properly defend my doubts. At the dinner table, I asked James about the meeting, and he asked me a question in return, asking what meeting I was talking about as we had already attended the parents' meeting. The look on Lilac's face was satisfying. She took a bite and said that she just wanted to talk to James's teacher about his progress. I put my spoon aside and looked at her. She asked me what was wrong. I took a sigh and asked if she saw the progress report I sent her over the phone. She apologized and told me that she had forgotten. I asked her how she could forget something so important while being on the phone all day. She irritably asked whether I was trying to say that she does nothing except be on the phone all day. I told her no, and she was taking it the wrong way. She stood up and was very angry with my statement and shouted at me, saying that I was being baseless and that it was me who never tried doing anything for the family. Her statement made me furious, but instead of blabbering everything out, I let her speak. I asked her what she meant by this, and there she said again that I was a boring person, and our marriage lost its spark. I laughed and told her thank you for taking the conversation the other way around to use it as a shield for her thoughts and feelings, and I continued eating my food. She left. Again, at the same time, she was on call, laughing and talking, but I didn't want to hear the conversation. I wanted to see it by myself and collect the evidence. I never checked her phone, and with such behavior, I knew she had a password. I waited till she finally fell asleep and took her phone. She did have the password. I tried many things, but it didn't open. There was one thing about her forgetful personality was that she used to write passwords in her notebook. I took out the notebook, and there it was. The phone finally opened, and my hands were shivering from opening the text messages, but I had to, and there it was, the truth. I just sat there on the floor with the phone in my hand, scrolling down and seeing the sexting, nudes, and I love you she was sent to this guy named Richard. That night I cried. I don't remember the last time I cried like this. I put my hand on my mouth to suppress my weeping, and I took a deep breath because I had less time and I needed proof. I immediately took screenshots of their chats and sent them to my phone. Before putting the phone aside, I had to delete the screenshots from the gallery, and thankfully, I checked the gallery and there were pictures of them. I sent those pictures to my phone and cleared up every piece of evidence that could let her know that I checked her phone. In the morning, I left for work as usual, but in reality, I went to my friend Elijah's place. We have been friends since childhood, and he knew everything about my life. I told him everything that happened, and he couldn't believe it either. He kept saying that if I hadn't shown him the proof, he would have smacked me for a joke like this. After a while, I headed towards the address of Richard, which was mentioned in one of the texts, and parked my car behind the tree. It was not my car, but Elijah's, as Lilac would know in seconds. After waiting, I saw Richard outside his house with flowers in his hand, and Lilac got out of her car and hugged him tightly. I immediately took the picture and couldn't look at them for more than a few seconds. I kept wondering that if she didn't like me, a little bit of honesty could have been better and would have fixed everything, but neither did she want to lose this family nor could she stop cheating. As much as I was heartbroken, She destroyed my ego because, in a world full of cheaters, I was so proud of myself and her for being a stable and loyal couple. She made a joke out of my calm nature. This went on for 3 to 4 days, and I collected satisfactory evidence because it was my time to pour oil into the burning fire and ruin the already ruined marriage properly. I already told everything to our nanny, and she offered to let me know when my wife came back and left the place. Our nanny called me and informed me that she was going to visit her sick relatives, so she wouldn't be there today, and I gave her the leave. I called Lilac, told her the same, and asked her to go back home so she could leave as James and Max would be left alone. She agreed immediately. I was with Elijah, telling him and discussing what we should do about this matter. I didn't have the courage to tell these things to our parents. Suddenly I got a call from Lilac, where she was sobbing and saying that Max fell from the ladder and broke his arms, and she was taking him to the ER. My skin turned cold and anxiety took hold of me, and I panicked, not knowing what I should do now. I didn't have the proper state of mind to drive the car, so I asked Elijah instead. When we reached the hospital, the Dr. C told us not to worry as it was just a minor injury and it would heal in a few weeks. I took a sigh of relief and kissed my son's forehead while Lilac was talking to my mother on the phone. I was sitting next to James and asked him about the incident and how it happened. He told me that Max was climbing the ladder, and he shouted and called Mom many times, but she didn't listen as she was on the call, and then Max slipped and fell. After hearing this, I got so angry. I walked towards her and threw her phone on the floor. Everyone was looking at us. I screamed and shouted at her for being so irresponsible. Elijah was trying to calm me down, but I couldn't. Max could have gotten a serious injury. I said many things, and she was trying to make herself the victim by saying that I was an absent father. After hearing this, I could get closer to her and whispered in her ear that at least I was better than her and didn't FCK anyone on her back. She looked frightened, like a scared cat. After that argument in the hospital, Elijah took our sons to his place, and I went back home with Lilac. We didn't say a thing on our way back, and as for remorse? She was just pretending, as I saw her texting him a few times, and that made me even more furious. What she told me blew my mind. She must have been thinking that I would sympathize with her, but I don't have any sympathy for cheaters. She told me that she dated Richard back in her high school year, and that relationship ended a month before our marriage. She never wanted to marry me but had no choice. You see, Lilac's dad is also a dentist and had his own clinic which Lilac was eyeing, but her dad kept a condition that she had to marry someone respectable in order to inherit that, or else it would go to her brother who was 5 years younger to her and was also interested in pursuing dental. Richard was jobless and a rookie at that time, so she broke up with Richard and decided to marry me. She said she met Richard 1 month ago in her clinic when he visited her to get his teeth cleaned for a photo shoot as he works as a model for a fashion designing company. After meeting him again, things escalated slowly, which ended up in this. I had tears in my eyes, and she was already crying and asking me for another chance to fix this, but it was all a play by now. She knew it quite well that Richard wouldn't marry her and she couldn't afford to lose a stable family. She also stated that I was not her type of person and half of the time she felt confined. In response, I asked her whether she was blaming me for having a different personality, which made her cheat, and not her own actions. She stood up and started shouting at me for not being understanding, and that's why she preferred Richard over me. I walked towards her, grabbed her by her hands angrily, and told her to shut up with the bullshit and manipulation. I told her that cheating was her own choice and that she wanted to do it, not because of me. I was so angry at her claims, and I did everything I could. I left the place and asked Elijah to drop James and Max off at their grandparents', and I will be staying at his place for a while. I have not spoken to him after arriving at his place. I just don't want to talk to anyone. Maybe unleashing my emotions in front of strangers might help me calm down. I'm just able to think straight. Update 2. Hey people, I know I took a while to update. Thank you for checking on me. This is the last satisfactory update. Also, Max is all healed now, and I was working on my latest project, which basically means satisfying my ego. So I spent 3 days at Elijah's place and did my college work. I refused to talk about any of this with him, and I avoided every conversation related to this. After a while, I went back home, and much to my surprise, it was decorated with flowers and balloons. Then Lilac came with flowers and started apologizing and begging me for forgiveness. She had been texting me and calling me, and I avoided talking to her. I had no feelings for her except pure hatred, but for my revenge, I agreed to be manipulated by her one more time. Now her acts of being pretentious all the time were clear to me, and honestly, she never really took care of the kids, the nanny did. And as a mother, it's a responsibility and not a favor for your own kid. That's why the kids wanted me or the nanny more than her own mother. I was busy preparing for Max's birthday and other SHTs pulled by Lilac, like couple therapy and other different things to rebuild this relationship. She was trying so hard to make it look genuine while meeting Richard on my back once a week. We decided to invite the close family members for his birthday, which included my parents and siblings, and the same for her. Before everything happened, birthdays used to be so fou the CN, but now it feels disgusting to think that she was just pretending the whole time. After the cake cutting ceremony was the time to reveal the biggest gift to her father. I asked James and Max went to the other room and opened their presents. While everyone was chilling out, I called Lilac and asked her whether she was going to give the present she prepared to her father. Her father looked happy, as did everybody else, but as for Lilac, she already had it. She kept nodding her head and saying no with her signs. Her eyes were teary as I handed over the gift to her father. He opened it and saw the pictures and everything. He stood up and shouted at her for meeting that jobless JRK again and for ruining our marriage. Another gift was for Lilac, divorce papers, which already came 10 days ago. Her brother and my family were in complete shock as I told her father everything. Her father asked her to sign the paper, leave the hospital tomorrow, and find work for herself somewhere else, as he couldn't let her ruin his name. Lilac was crying and asking her father for forgiveness, and her mother was devastated. She ruined this for everyone and a small sense of remorse would let me stop it, but she continued meeting him afterward. I allowed her to meet James and Max on weekends and refused to let her take them for a stay after her irresponsible action. After the divorce, we went on our separate paths and never indulged in any conversation with her, even after seeing her for quite some time. James and Max did miss her, but it's better to be raised by a single parent than by an irresponsible one. As for me, I'm moving on with my life, keeping myself busy with work and children. But the past will always stick to me like a parasite, but my revenge did satisfy my ego. Seeing her not getting what she wanted helped me overcome my mental health, and I continued with my life.